It's on live. It just takes a minute.
Oh, you think, okay. It should be, I mean, it should come on here. But it's low. Dual axle.
Huh? No. It's live. I'm good with being down there in my home.
Still nothing.
It's on.
Yeah, I just don't know why it's not on YouTube.
Hey, we're having trouble with the live feed.
Now you don't hit, that's the playback on it.
On the,
Oh, here
cameras.
goes Marcia. You got an idea?
It's that.
Oh, you see it on there?
Uh-huh. All right, never mind.
Not on Timmy's computer. I got it. It's on? Why is it not on Timmy's computer? Oh, well. Thank you. All right, just before we start, is anyone here for one of the 3 public hearings? I know we have, you signed up, sir, but is anyone else here for the 3 public hearings? Okay, perfect. All right, we'll call this meeting of the Young County Commissioners Court to order. Let the record show that it is 9:32 a.m. and all 5 members of the court are present. We're streaming live on YouTube, and if you're watching and you wish to make a comment, you may call in on 940-221-2107. Today, Commissioner Cresswell has the honors. If able, please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today. We ask for your wisdom and guidance in this proceedings today. Dear Lord, we ask you to be with the people fighting sickness and disease, dear Lord. Be with them and heal them, dear Lord. Give us proper things to do for this county and this nation, dear Lord, and be with the people in it, dear Lord. We ask you to watch over us as we go throughout this day today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Good. Okay, so we will now, we have a 9:30 public hearing, which we will open that public hearing to discuss and consider the speed limit reduction from 45 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour on Mary Rutherford Road, Precinct 4, Jimmy Wiley's item. Mr. Wiley, you want to tell us about why the speed reduction is proposed?
Yes, I had one of the constituents out there on that road say there's been a lot of traffic and it's been going over 45 miles an hour, and they're wanting to slow it down so to kind of keep the dust down just a little bit.
Okay.
So that's what we did. We went in, sit out, and done like we were supposed to, put it in the paper, for the time required. Now we're here to come here.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a comment on this? Do we have any public comment? Please.
Now, that's me.
Yes.
I'm the one told him about it. And, we do have lots more people coming through. And there used to be not doing that. We also have a trash truck going over the Taylor Road on that bridge. And a lot more people seem like they're moving in, building, buying some
So just for the record, you're for reducing the speed limit on that road?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, could you state your name for the record? I know you signed in, but will you state your name for the record?
John Slater.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
I have a question. That bridge, it's a wooden bridge that we're talking about, are them trash trucks overweight for that thing?
Probably.
Yeah, that's one more thing I was thinking about, was the weight of the trucks. I worked for the county for 35 years, and I started out, first 2 to 3 months, we worked on that bridge. And it's all wood. Got big pieces under there going this way, and then the crosses on the top. And I don't know that it's been rebuilt or redone since then. That was 30 years ago or something like that.
Probably been some new boards put on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it posted up there, John?
It's not open.
No, and the side rails, some of them have been knocked off.
Does the state have to do a load zone study on that, or can we make a decision on weight limits on that thing?
Well, it's not considered a bridge.
Is it?
That's the point. If it had been a bridge, we'd have put a new bridge in there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't meet the requirements of the length of what a bridge is supposed to be. So the state does not recognize that as a bridge. The only other alternative would be is to man put a culvert in there. Cover it up and just make it like you're ready for deal.
It just wash out.
Yeah, but there's a lot of water right there comes down through.
Yeah.
Lots of water.
Never flood the road back up to nearly to the
Curve. Yeah.
curve up there on Taylor.
And they'll wash every bit of that rock off of it.
Yeah, every bit of it all.
More than once, I put it back on.
Hmm.
And I waded through the water just to get to the bridge.
So this is my first public hearing, so do we close the public hearing and then vote, or do we vote before we close the public hearing?
We'll go ahead and vote on this one, and then we'll do each one on the separate.
Okay. So is there any more public comment on the proposed speed reduction from 45 to 35 miles an hour on Mary Rutherford Road? Does anyone have a motion to reduce the speed limit?
I'll make the motion.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Wiley, we have a second from Commissioner Cresswell. Do we have any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion unanimously passes. We will now close the 9:30 public hearing. Our next public hearing was posted for 9:45, so we'll go on to some other Commissioners Court business and then come back to the hearing at 9:45. The next item on our agenda is public comments. Does anyone like to make a public comment? Please, will you please state your name, please?
My name's Rodney Mitchell.
Yes, sir?
And I'll cut straight to the chase. I don't think our sheriff's office is too concerned about animal cruelty. This latest case that was on the front page of the paper Saturday, this thing has been going on for 3 years. They've had numerous complaints from a neighbor. There's one deputy that's been in charge of it. His very recent visit to the site, he stated to the neighbors that everything was within code. And I brought a picture if everybody wants to see it. I mean, it's obvious this was not in code. This dog had been in a 6x6 pen for 3 years. If you'll remember when it was the big cold snap we had, it was 4 degrees. He was out in his pen, no shelter, malnutrition. He finally had to be put down after he was finally taken away from the owner. He was anemic, emaciated, had hook worms, tapeworms, fungal infections, yeast infections, bacterial infections, viral infections, I'm in the medical business, and that's all the kind of infections you can have, that's all for. Pressure sores, entropion, just an inward turning of the eyelid, and a poor blood supply to his colon, which is what led to him being put to sleep. I would just like to see everybody get on board, including the commissioners, the city councilman, the district attorney's office, the county attorney's office, the city attorney's office, and make Graham and Young County be known as, if you have a predilection for animal abuse, you best move to another county. Because luckily, I'm really proud of the paper for putting this on the front page. I'm really glad they did. I don't think this case has been referred as a felony, which is the correct thing to do. But I don't think this one case is going to do it. I think it's going to take another case, maybe 2 more cases, until with high-profile punishments and high-profile press to let people know that Graham and Young County is not the place to do this.
Thank you.
That's all I've got.
Appreciate it. Are there any other public comments? All right, the next item, we have a few more minutes for next public hearings. Affirming Texas Families, which is a is hosting a non-profit community resource fair on the courthouse lawn on April 29th. Would you like to tell us about it?
Sure. So we have got churches, youth groups, nonprofits, community resources. We're trying to get law enforcement and anybody else that wants to come that aids the community. And we just want to have a day for education in the community and fun. Lewis Learning has donated a bounce house. We've got some food trucks tentatively. We're waiting on approval for street use from the city. And we just want to do a whole day. A lot of people have no idea. There's a ton of really awesome resources and nonprofits here to help the community and do neat stuff. And a lot of people have zero idea they're here. So we just wanted to set up a day and have fun family stuff, food trucks, people come eat and play and learn what all is here to help them out.
And then what are the hours of this?
It's going to be from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m.
10 to 2. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We still have a few more minutes. Next item on the agenda is to consider the county clerk minutes from our previous meeting, which was March 13th.
So moved.
Commissioner Wiley made a motion. Was that Commissioner Shook who seconded it? Is there any discussion or corrections or amendments to the minutes?
Well, we corrected a few, but she handed out the corrected version,
Mhm.
so this is what we'll make.
Perfect. Then all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I think we have one more minute for our next public hearing. So next, we will consider the treasurer's financial report and updates on securities pledged. Madam Treasurer?
I knew you'd do that. I don't have any reporting this morning.
Okay. All right, so no report from there. Next item is discuss accept donations to the Young County Historical Commission for the 1921 jail from Miss Benny Lane, $100.
I'll make the motion to accept those donations to the County Historical Commission.
We have a motion from Commissioner Rogers. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Shook. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 4-1. Motion passes. All right, I believe it is 9:45. So we will now open the public hearing to discuss and consider the speed limit reduction from 45 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour on Bullock Road. This motion was, or this public hearing was proposed by Precinct 2 Commissioner Scott Shook. Commissioner Shook, do you have any color to add to this?
Yeah, we just got a call from a concerned citizen. Bullock Road is just kind of a shortcut between 380 and Highway 61. Just kind of a shortcut through there, and so there's some fast moving traffic through there, so they just wanted to try to post some signs and get it slowed down a little bit.
Okay. Is there any public comment for or against? I see none.
You're gonna do the whole room.
Yeah, I think we'll do the whole thing.
Would you like to make a motion that we
I'll
approve
make
this
a motion.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Shook and a second from Commissioner Cresswell. Is there any more discussion on the matter? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. We will close the 9:45 public hearing. Thank you. Next public hearing was scheduled for 10 o'clock. We will now consider the auditor's budget amendments and vouchers payable. Madam Auditor.
Under the title too?
Yes.
I have vouchers today. Total of the vouchers is $204,185.93. And out of the general fund is $122,449.90. See that line?
So moved.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Wiley, a second, was it Commissioner Cresswell or
Shook.
Commissioner Shook with the second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. I'll send this first. Item number 10, discuss and consider employee bonds. We have a proposed bond of $5,000 for Diana Dollar, county clerk for the county attorney, and a proposed bond of $5,000 for Chelsea Moore, who is the chief clerk in JP Precinct 1 office.
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Rogers. Do we have a
Second.
second? Second from Commissioner Cresswell. Is there any discussion on the matter? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. Item number 11, discuss and consider an audit, consider Level 5's architecture firm, a presentation for the Young County Annex Facility based on qualifications, Justin Gilmore, and discuss and consider negotiate an agreement for design services for Young County Annex Facility. Please come forward. Thank you. And you are Mr. Gilmore?
Yes, thank you so much. Judge and Commissioners, I appreciate y'all's time this morning. I'm gonna give you a little bit of information. I think I sent this information to you this way, but just wanted to make sure that everybody has it. And I'm gonna use this one and I'll give it to the clerk for the record afterwards. I appreciate your time this morning. I wanted to really introduce myself, as well as Level 5, the firm, in discussion and potential thoughts for the new annex facility that Young County is looking at. And so really just kind of give you a brief introduction. This packet of information gives you a lot of information about Level 5 and the firm itself. But a little history on us. I started Level 5 about 11 years ago. Prior to that, I worked for a firm with Southwest Architects. I did a lot of work in Young County, around here, Wise County. I was actually part of the team for Southwest Architects that designed your detention center facility. I was also the lead architect on the exterior restoration of this courthouse here. So I've been very familiar with Young County, and I've got a couple familiar faces, and Commissioner Wiley and I was together on the courthouse facility as well as the detention center. And I think Commissioner Rogers was right at the tail end of that, coming on board. So I see some familiar faces, and I appreciate the opportunity to come introduce ourselves for the We have been doing mainly municipal and government facilities design-wise, design and engineering for the last 11 years. We've got several facilities. I know that the county is looking at potentially moving the tax assessor, elections administrator's office, and potentially Veterans Affairs into a new annex facility to free up some space within the courthouse and maybe do some musical chairs a little bit and shift some things around. Our firm has been doing this type of work and designing this type of work and working with counties throughout the entire state of Texas for the last 11 years. I've been doing it for 25 years in this business as well. Similar facilities that we've done over in Bridgeport, which is not too far from you here. We actually did a Wise County Annex facility over there with the tax assessor's office, as well as EMS facilities, commissioner's offices. But some of the other most recent ones that we've done, Andrews County, which is just out in West Texas, is included in your packet of information there. We moved the tax assessor outside the courthouse into their own private building. There's an existing facility there as well. It was actually the former library, and then the library got bigger and moved on, so we took that old space and made it the tax assessor's office for Andrews County. We've also done the same thing with Veterans Affairs. We moved them out of the courthouse into annex buildings. And then, you know, looking at city halls, different types of things that we've done. Out in Wink, Texas, again, far west Texas, we have moved all of the city offices into a brand new pre-engineered metal building. So pre-engineered metal buildings are a little bit different and unique from the actual courthouse themselves. The great thing about pre-engineered metal buildings is that they're freestanding structures. And I understand that there's a piece of property that you're potentially looking at that is a pre-engineered metal building. That allows us to really look at the inside of that facility, and we kind of have a blank slate, which is beautiful for us to be able to put all the spaces that we need to in there. I've given you some recommendations, some thoughts after actually touring that potential facility that you're looking at, and how we can actually utilize coming into a central space within the building itself and the front entrance, creating a lobby that really has a kind of a pinwheel effect that you can access multiple different departments off of that lobby space, but also utilizing that lobby as the actual windows for the tax assessors, collectors' offices. So you've got this centralized space that you can actually access the Veterans Affairs off of that potentially. The Elections Administration's office is a little bit unique in itself, in that we would like to potentially put that EA office and the actual voting room in the center core of the building itself, but create a separate entrance in, or could be an entrance or exit off of the side of the building, which is where potentially really your only major parking space would be. Obviously, there's one time a year, or 2 times a year that the EA office and the potential voting room is heavily used, and that's where most of your parking is going to be, would be off of that side area. So if we were to utilize that entrance into the elections office, bring them in through there, and then bring them out through the front of the building, you're not having this cross traffic trying to go across each other. Or you could reverse it, bring everybody in through the lobby space and have them come out the side of the building. So again, just utilizing this facility, we have a lot of opportunities there, being the pre-engineered metal building, a free and open structure. I do really like the facility in that it's already air conditioned, which is great. So we'll just have to reroute some ducting within there. And then the existing offices that are currently there can definitely be reutilized for potential tax assessors' offices, elections administrators' offices, and whatever else other spaces we might need within that facility. I think the front entrance of the building itself is, it's a stucco finish that's on the front of it, that pre-engineered metal building. It's a good start. It doesn't look like a county building or a municipal building, so we might want to dress up that front just a little bit, depending upon what our budget may be. And then again, the parking, looking at potentially doing a parking lot out on the side. You've got enough parking for your Veterans Affairs offices and your tax assessor's office. It's really when you're in voting season, you're gonna have that overflow parking. That's a lot of expense to do an asphalt or a parking concrete, or concrete parking area. But I think, potentially you've got an area there where you could do some intermediate overflow parking with possibly a chip seal or something like that down the road. So I think there's a great opportunity with this property, with this existing building. And again, based upon our experience with different pre-engineered metal buildings and the different offices within the county themselves, we think we'd be a great fit to try and help you, get this facility designed and really start working out the details and the bugs to get it around. And then from there, we would definitely love to help, shift and look at some things within the courthouse. My background as a professional is actually in historic preservation. I have been able to restore a lot of different courthouses. Most recently, we have helped do an interior renovation and restoration for the Palo Pinto County Courthouse. So they had an electrical fire inside their building at one point, which damaged some areas, but what we did is we went in there inside that facility, redid all of the electrical wiring within the courthouse. Because of that, we had to redo some of the HVAC systems within the courthouse. And then we really addressed life safety, because when they had that fire, they realized wasn't a whole lot of places to get out of there, and it wasn't easy to get out of that building in a safety scenario. And then we also looked at shifting around some offices and restoring the actual courtroom, the commissioner's courtroom and the district courtroom that they have. So again, we've got some familiarity with being able to help look at these projects, and given our history here, again, I've had a great relationship with Commissioner Wiley, and we've kept in touch over the years, and then some of our local clients around here as well. I hope that we can be able to help you out and be a good fit for these projects.
What's the thought process on this little kind of strip of storage here? Is that file storage, or what were you thinking with?
So that little strip of storage, just initially, I would like to have a back entrance or exit out of the Veterans Affairs offices. The main entrance would be obviously through the lobby space, but there's a couple of doors that are on that back side of that building there, and I'm not real sure where the parking is or exactly where those doors are at. All I've got is a Google image of the building, not an exact floor plan. Part of the process that we do, we go measure up the existing floor plans to make sure exactly where those doors are at. But that's just a back hallway to get from that already located exit door into the back side of the Veterans Affairs office, or vice versa, to get out of there in an emergency instance.
Okay. And then just one thing, I talked to the city, and they said that it's possible that we could put some sort of rock or something on here and use this for parking. They do have natural gas lines. They do have, there are lines buried underneath there, so you may not want to put asphalt, but they did think it would be feasible for us to use that, abandon that alley and turn that into parking if we wanted to also. Yeah.
If we add that second entrance for the elections administration office, we're still gonna wind up having to make sure we get handicap parking in the front as well.
Handicap parking's not gonna work in the front of that building. It's sloped too much.
So we're gonna have to make an entrance way from the side.
So what my thoughts were, where the current handicap parking is located is actually where I would love to have a pickup drop-off window for the tax assessor's office.
Yeah.
But if you shift that handicap parking a little bit further down to where that entrance is into the elections office, it's where the air conditioner units are there as well. That area is still relatively flat, and I think it will work just fine for handicap accessible parking. So we can shift our 2 handicap accessible parking spaces right in front of that entrance and still have the drive around for the pickup drop-off window for the tax assessor.
It's just a long ways around from them if it's a veteran to come through handicap that way.
I agree.
I was just looking at the design layout, it's,
Isn't this kind of a rough deal here though?
okay.
If so choose to do it, and you can sit down there and fine tune anything you want to do.
Absolutely.
Once you get in there and get it all measured out and actually get it put on paper, it'll look different than what it does right now.
Okay.
Justin, what would it take to get handicap parking to the front? Possible at all? Cause you're gonna have handicap running right through the drive-through window.
Right, if you did the walk around for the handicap parking. So it's gonna be really tough. We would have to redo some of the street that's out there. That slope that's actually leading up to the front of that building is pretty intense for parking itself. I just don't see any way to get that parking in the front of the building.
Could be a safety issue.
And there's always a possibility as well to, like we said, this is just very rough and diagrammatic as far as what our initial thoughts were after shift everything around to where the lobby is on the side of the building if we wanted to, and then kind of pinwheel everything on that. But, there's a lot of opportunities. Again, like I said from the very beginning, the beauty of this building is it's free and open and clear. We're not having to really deal with any existing structural elements that we have to work around.
Possibilities or any?
I think so.
Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, it is now 10 o'clock. We will go to our last public hearing, which is to discuss and consider and approve, possibly approve a mass gathering permit filed by the Graham Convention and Visitors Bureau for the Crawfish and Cannons event planned on Fort Belknap, April 8th, 2023, and this is in accordance with section 751 of the Texas Health and Safety Code. We have seen one from the chamber. Well, they've already made several presentations. They filled out a mass gathering permit. They're gonna have, approximately 2,500 people out there. With Fort Belknap represented. Is there any public comment on the mass gathering permit? I hear no public comment. I'll make a motion that we, is there any comment or any discussion from the commissioners? If not, I'll make a motion that we approve the mass gathering permit as filed. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Cresswell. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The mass gathering permit is unanimously approved, and we will close the 10 a.m. public hearing. Item number 12, discuss and consider a proposed RV park near Lake Graham, submitted by Randy Saylor. In your packet, you will see he has several items. He submitted a $1,000 check. That is for 10, you missed it? You just missed the public hearing for Crawfish and Cannons. So Randy Saylor
Sorry,
submitted
everybody.
a $1,000 check, and that's for 10 RV spots. This is located, I think of this near Bearwood, on the highway, Newcastle Highway by Lake Graham. And you'll see he's got several plats in here. He's obviously got room to grow this as, if it is successful. He's got,
He's gonna come off the Bryant Farm Road there with those nice for the entrance.
that, I agree. And then he's building a 20-foot road around, which I believe that
That's the spec.
that meets the spec. I read the code, seems to fit
Everything's.
what our subdivision code calls for.
In the addition, I think, in there, the code would say if you put any more than 10 in there, it's $50 per.
Yeah, there's a fee per space once you get past the initial 10.
Yes.
But he's starting with the 10.
See how it's gonna do.
Yes.
But it will be a subdivision.
It's like on page 62 or 63, it's the RV mobile home
Yeah.
recreational vehicle section of the code. But yeah, it falls under ours,
Rules and regs.
under our subdivision rules and regs, yeah.
It has to have fire truck, ambulance accessibility, and that's why the roads are so particular on it.
Yeah.
I was really thinking we had a 25-foot road around them.
You thought that's what it said, or you think it's what it should say?
I think that's what we kinda agreed on another.
You wanna look it up real quick? You can go grab it. Hold on one second, I got it in here. That right here. It's 12 foot in the
Well,
regs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's made it wider than what it's supposed to be.
Cause it's a one-way. But that's what we only require 12 foot.
I thought we considered any 5 foot, so emergency vehicles could pass into it. But it hasn't been changed yet.
Well, this is, I mean,
It's current.
I don't know how the.
There were several
discussions went.
things in there that we looked at to update, but they never got done.
That's probably what we ought to do. We ought to sit down
Workshop.
and workshop it and update some of the stuff, just be it current.
I think that would be helpful for Scott and I, you know, that's something we can talk about doing in the future.
I'll make a motion to accept this.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wiley, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Shook, is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. I have not cashed that check yet, so I will cash this check. Wanted to hold it till we discuss it here. All right, so the next item, and Commissioner Wiley and I are gonna have a meeting on this later this week with the developers, but we have a proposed, well, they don't believe it's a subdivision, but we have a plat from Mr. Ray and Stacy Reeves for a proposed, well, they're not calling it a subdivision, but a proposed breakup of land near Loving, Texas. I think this is a classic definition of a subdivision based on our subdivision rules, but he's gonna meet with Commissioner Wiley and I later this week to explain why it's not.
Well, if this is a plat here, it is a subdivision because it has a road going in with a roundabout or a circle drive, and it's public access through both, to all these properties. It's a subdivision.
Well, one thing they're talking about doing is changing that to just a dead-end road, but I don't think the Circle Drive does anything.
It doesn't, if it's a community access road, which any of these properties are accessed from.
That's how I read it. And then,
I was down there at the, convention last week, and we got some from council. And he emailed me back and, just to double check. I knew according to what our regs are. But you see, I think when people look at our regs, it don't go in there and spell it out word for word, but it gives the, rules to go by. And this is under our code of, 232 of our local subdivision plat rules. And it's 90 pages long, but it goes in there and it explains the definition of what each one of them is about. And I think it's like a lot of things, once you read our rules, then you go through that 232 and read what it says, and it'll explain why it is what it is.
another thing they're proposing is, okay, well, we'll get rid of those lots and just sell this off, and then this would be part of this back lot, but I think that's a subdivision too.
Still subdivision.
Still a subdivision. If you
Anything,
gotta have an entranceway through another property, it's a subdivision.
Yeah,
the only way that wouldn't be a subdivision is if each entrance came off of a county road or off of an FM road or a state highway, like they do out there on 1769. There's all those entrances come off of 1769.
well, they'll argue that this is because they're gonna have a strip of land touching it. So they'll make an argument that it is.
But it is, it's still a
road
road.
or street.
It doesn't matter, it's a street, road, alley, whatever. on 232.
Now, I definitely know that that's the spirit
Yeah.
of the code, but
What he don't want, he reiterated this a lot. He don't want it to be a subdivision. Well, and I've explained to him, the only way it could not be a subdivision is if all the entrances come off the road. He said, I can't do it the way it's designed. I said, well, it is what it is.
And another thing, didn't he mention that the county take the road?
No, the
Okay.
county, He does not want the county to take it, he keeps saying it's a private road. Well, in 232,
That makes it a subdivision.
it's a subdivision. And in our rules and regs, the way ours is set up is, we're not gonna take that road. It still becomes, and I said, well, you're gonna do an HOA? He said, no, I'm not gonna do an HOA. What we're gonna do is, you're gonna write it into the, HD restriction, that everybody's gonna be responsible for the road. Well, that's gonna be a nightmare in
It's
itself.
HOA in its own.
So, you know, 'cause Joe's not gonna wanna do what Leroy did. Leroy did more than what Joe did last time. So it's gonna be a,
So they did not submit, they haven't submitted, at least I have not seen a formal application for an approval of a subdivision.
No.
They have not sent any money as the fees for approving the subdivision. They were sending this to us, hoping that we would say, oh yeah, this is not a subdivision, and kind of bless it for them to move forward with what they're gonna try to do. But I'm hearing from the court that most people, if not everyone here, believes that as it is drawn, it is a subdivision. Am I correct in my interpretation?
yes.
Okay. Does anyone believe we need to take any action on this?
Cause we don't need to take any action until we actually receive the plat.
Okay, that's what my thought was, but this is my first rodeo.
And the rules of the subdivision are to keep things from like this happening where they haven't got power or water or any of that figured into this.
Mhm.
To where we're not selling lots to people that can't be developed in time.
He said, we're not there at all. Don't live like that, we do. Well, there's two,
So no action? No action, all right. So item number 14, discuss and consider Plug Project Holding Companies LLC notice of request for extension regarding their commitment to have substantially completed construction of the improvements by March 31st, 2023, and their executed tax abatement agreement with Young County dated March 28th, 2022. Last week, I met with 3 members or employees of the Plug Power team, and basically, they gave me a recap of what's happened since the tax abatements and reinvestment zones were created. And the answer is pretty much nothing. They've cleared the land out. They have not. They think they have the easement worked out for the power lines. They're still working on the water easements to get water there. They have not started building any of the facilities on there. They're claiming COVID supply shortages, equipment shortages, things that you're seeing in other places. But they did show me where, when they've had their annual meeting or quarterly meeting with investors, that this is something that they're talking quite a bit. They sounded to me like they are committed to this project and will be building it. The contract or the agreements as negotiated had a 1 year, gave Plug Power an option to extend that deadline for 1 year. I don't see where they have an option to extend it another year. So, they are executing that option that they have in your packets. They sent a letter formally requesting the extension. I do think I think all the entities need to realize that that's gonna push everything back. And I think a lot of people were anticipating, maybe having some hydrogen money in their budgets this year, but it's not gonna happen. Yeah, it'll be the year after next.
Is that gonna require another $1,000 payment on that?
I don't believe so. I read the agreement over the weekend. I did not see that in there, but if it's in there, again, that's the first time I've seen the document, so I'm not as familiar with it as you guys. But I did not notice that in there.
Good, I just.
I do think we need to vote to accept the extension, however, that, I don't think we have the power to deny the exception. It looks like it was at their option, yes. Okay, can we take a 5-minute recess? Thank you. Sorry about that.
What do you think about it? You're straight, Judge.
Sorry about that. Okay, so as we were talking about this, request for an extension, I will make a motion that we accept the extension. The way I read the agreement, I believe it's an option, it's their option, their sole option, the way I read it, and that we don't really have the ability to reject it, but.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
The
All right.
only way that they would cost him another 1,000 is if we had to go back and do another reinvestment zone.
Oh, okay. Well, this extension basically
It's the same
preserves
one.
it.
Yeah.
Now, if they haven't, and the wording is substantially completed. So they've got a lot of work, they basically have to have that plant
Pretty well done.
on the verge of turning on
Yes.
for us to say that they're gonna lose this investment zone and tax abatement. So there should be a lot of work going on out there soon. So the motion unanimously passes to accept their request for an extension. That'll move us to item number 15, which is discuss and consider application and permit to install an entry culvert in the county road right-of-way ditch line for Turtle Hole Road, Precinct 4. Commissioner Welling?
Yes, we had a landowner out there sold a corner lot off of his land between Turtle Hole and White House. And their guys, we put in that little metal building in there to live out of. So we installed it, put it in place. I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Wiley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Shook. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. Item number 16, discuss and consider application permit to install an entry culvert in the county road right-of-way ditch line for Briar Creek Road. Commissioner Wiley?
This is gonna be, replacing the one that's already existing there that's, deteriorated and got holes in it. So, that's what that's gonna be doing, is replacing it.
Okay. Are you making a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second? Oh, yes, sir.
But on the existing culvert, do we have to permit that now? I didn't permit some that have had pre-existing culverts.
I would, because the reason being is that it wasn't prior to this,
Okay.
so I'm gonna go ahead and put it on there so it's on record, show record is it.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Wiley. We have a second from Commissioner Cresswell. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. All right, item number 17, discuss and accept permission letter from Jessica Dotson regarding dumping loads of dirt and brush on 559 Judges Road as needed. Commissioner Shook, this is your item.
Yeah, we're just gonna go through there and bulldoze, the ditches and the right of way on Judges Road from the fires that happened 2 years ago. A lot of those trees are dead and are falling in the road.
you making a motion?
I will make a motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Shook, we have a second from Commissioner Cresswell. Is there any discussion on the matter? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. Item number 18, discuss and consider burn restrictions.
No action.
I hear no action. We will move on. Item number 19, adjourn recess. Motion from Wiley, second from Commissioner Shook. All in favor? We are done. Thank you.
Spoiling it. We don't waste time. That waste our time.
Let me know how to help you.
I heard everything over the last week. Mass well, that's why we have that. That's why we
Have a good
Everybody's hot and very good. I didn't know it was. I'll go check that out there shortly.
Yeah.
Yep. Just got a little educated today.
All right. Come back anytime you want to. Anytime.
Hey, Ian, I have this for you, and I made a woman.
Gather around and watch the
woman thing's supposed to
Man, good. The longest time
Exactly. We will.
We're married for 16 years. I'll be building myself in a building. I'll be 30 years old. It's really old.
Why can't I get it off out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's pretty neat.
Anything you feel appropriate, you do not need to ask.
It's on that much.